call the Hanwell Rural Community Regular Meeting of Council for September 18th, 2024 to order, please. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I, Councillor Heislip, move to approve the agenda with the following addition. Add 11A, matter pursuant to Section 68(1)(f) of the Local Governance Act. Add 11B, matter pursuant to Section 68(1)(j) of the Local Governance Act.
Seconder, please.
Aye, Councillor McKenzie, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item 3, we need somebody to move to adopt the consent section with the removal of the CAO Treasurer report.
Go ahead.
I, Councillor De Cleva, move to adopt the consent section with the removal of the CAO Treasurer's report.
Seconder?
Aye, Councillor McKenzie, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Any disclosures this evening, Council? Nope. Do we have any public input inquiries?
No.
Okay, we have a CRSC presentation for a public hearing for rezoning application, and Raj from the CRC is up, so I'll turn the floor over to him. Thank you, Raj.
I'm just gonna say next slide so everyone will stay on the same page.
Okay. Technical difficulties.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Capital Region Service Commission has received a rezoning application from Richard Atwal to rezone the property with PID 751-93813 located on 1874 Route 640 Hanwell. The applicant wishes to rezone the property from residential zone to commercial and light industrial zone to operate selling and buying of used cars, with occasionally offering tire changing services for the cars used for the business. The current zoning for the parcel does not accommodate the intended use. Next slide. The property is 4,176 square meters in area and has the access of Route 640. Next slide. The property falls under the residential zoning designation as per the Hanwell Rural Plan. The property's towards the north are commercial establishment, including a vehicle repair shop and a used car sales business. Towards the east and west of the subject property, there are residential properties, and however, undeveloped woodlots are located at the south of the property. Next slide. The larger image on the right of the page, you can see that covers the whole site. The bottom left aerial image presents the rear area of the site where the cars for the businesses would be stored. The image on the top left is taken from the display area overlooking towards the Route 640. You can see that is well covered by the house in front, and the site is well treed on all the three sides. Next slide. This is the final site plan for the proposed use. As you can see, the applicant plans to extend the paved surface area towards the rear end of the property, creating a few parking spots to display the cars. We will work with the applicant to set conditions to limit the numbers of cars on the lot. The lot has street buffer which will serve as a visual and an audio barrier. Next slide. As a part of the rezoning process, CRSC has reached out to various environment and local government departments for their concerns and comments on the rezoning. We have not received any major concerns regarding this rezoning. As you can see, I have highlighted two comments, one by the water sciences section that says that the only comment would be to ensure any industrial equipments or materials that are properly stored to avoid negative runoff into the surrounding environment throughout the development. And the second comment is from the Provincial and Community Planning Department that says that the statements of public interest shall be considered for the rezoning. Next slide, please. Recommendation. Capital Region Service Commission recommends that the Council of Hanwell Rural Community proceed with the rezoning process for Bylaw 34-2024, and the Council set the public hearing for October 16 before the regular Council meeting at 6:30 p.m. There was a small change at the end. The Council directed that CRSC to prepare the bylaw amendment and the council direct the clerk to request in writing the views of Planning Review and Adjustment Committee for the written views of the bylaws. Thank you. And any questions or concerns for the rezoning?
Nope, the only question I have is actually pertaining to this is what I was wondering, if we could get a copy of the statement of public interest.
Right.
That's what I'm not clear on.
So you would like a copy for?
Yes, I'd like
Yes, I
to
can
see
make-
what you, I'd like to see what you guys see. I mean, I know I can look it up, and it's a very long document and all this stuff all put together, but I would like to see what it is that you guys consider, what you see when you look at these.
Right, I can certainly send in the report, and also while we are making those terms and conditions, I can highlight which terms and conditions reflect the SPIs.
Okay, yeah, see, I'd like to see the document from provincial government on it.
Right,
Do you have that?
yes,
Yeah, that's what I'd really like to
I
see.
can send that.
Oh, that'd be perfect, thanks.
You had mentioned that there's a tree buffer between properties that reduces the visual perception or whatever. Are these deciduous trees or coniferous? Whereby the deciduous trees in the fall and winter and spring are going to be gone, and you're going to have a tree, if not coniferous, they're going to have a straight sight line into the back of a parallel.
I am unsure about the type of the trees that are on the lot, but I can certainly look into if we can have terms and conditions that would satisfy having the visual barrier for the neighboring properties.
Chris and I can tell you from the photo. There's some of each.
Yeah, a lot, it's like a lot.
It looks like a lot of pine.
Yeah.
The green?
Deciduous,
Yeah.
yeah, so there might be pine there too.
It looks like some of the stuff here on the side looks like pine.
There's a few pine, but there's also some deciduous, so let's.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Okay, be it resolved that the Council of Hanwell Rural Community hereby directs that the clerk request in writing the written views of the Capital Region Service Commission Planning Review and Adjustment Committee with respect to the rezoning application for PID 75193813 to be made within 55 days, that the public notice requirements of Section 111 of the Community Planning Act be fulfilled, that the appropriate bylaw to amend the rural community of Hanwell Rural Plan Bylaw 11-2016 be prepared, and that the regular council meeting of Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at council chambers in the Hanwell Municipal Office be set as the time and place for the consideration of the objections/support of the proposed bylaw.
Can I have a seconder?
I, Councillor Fox, second.
Okay, any questions, comments? Any more questions for Ron while he's here? We're good? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Now, you can stay and enjoy the rest of our council meeting if you so desire, or you can go about your business. Okay, item 7, business arising from the consent section. We have the CAO Treasurer's Report.
Okay, Council. So the very first thing was our BMX trail. I've got a few updates. So with the BMX trail, I was talking, we had covered most of that, or just all of it, through the Canada Community Building Fund, which used to be the former gas tax. With any project through those, that fund, we have a protocol where it's provincial and federal money, that they have to be the ones to announce the project. So I reached out to them wondering about a ribbon cutting ceremony, and they responded today, we are not allowed to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. We are going to have to, due to the election, we are going to have to wait until the minister is appointed, because we have to be able to at least invite them, and there wouldn't be one. So our recreation director had thought about tying that in with the Spook Fest activities and doing it in October, but we're just gonna have to wait until the minister is appointed, so we'll just have to wait for a little bit for that one. What's the next one? So the Housing Accelerator fund, that is the one for affordable housing. Councillor Hyslop had called me today, just clarifying some information. So when we were doing that, we had to say approximately how many dwellings we would have. So that's where I had said that we estimated 32 dwellings in 2025, 39, 2026, and 50 in 2027. Those can be any dwellings, but part of this, we were saying that our rural plan, we would change that so that people could have basement apartments, that we could possibly do multi-unit apartments or townhomes or whatever. So we felt that that was a fair number with the amount that we already receive yearly with all of the new subdivisions that go in and stuff like that. So with that fund, I also had stated that we could use the funds for community center renovations, because the more community centers and stuff that we have, the more people want to build in our areas. The broadband connection, if council decides that that is something they want to do, our water studies, and also land acquisition plans. So all of those were things that we kind of talked about during our strategic plan workshop, so I felt that those were good ones to have. So when we were in St. Andrews at our conference last week, I was speaking with the I believe he's the CAO, from Bactouche. And he was saying they had received the funding in the first run of money that they had given out. And he said what they did for every person that wanted to build, they would get, like, say, $10,000 as an incentive to build. If it was a developer, if they were going to do, say, 1 to 4 units, they may get like 10,000. But if they did 5 to 10, there would be, you know, like 15 or 20,000 to kind of entice them to do a little bit more. So it was, I think, as per unit or whatever. So there are ways that we could use that money and stuff. I think the final application amount that it ended up being around 1.3 million that we thought that we might be able to use or whatever. So hopefully we'll be accepted on this round. Oh, sure.
Regarding the target numbers for numbers of dwellings, are there any implications if we don't meet those targets?
No, we just had to kind of give an idea of where we thought we could go by changing the rural plan and different stuff. So it's just a base amount.
I'm just wondering if there's a timeline as to when we would know if we received any monies.
No, I think last time they got the announcements out fairly quickly. I think it was only like maybe a month or so that from the time we had put in the applications till we had found out that seeing most of the money went to larger entities. So I'm thinking the time turnaround would probably be fairly quickly.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep. The next thing I wanted to mention was the regional aquatic pool. As you can see in my notes, we had a meeting, the CAOs, on September the 9th. Right now, they're estimating that we are about $8 million over our original budget, and that does not include any inflation costs. So they came back and stated that they could cut some items. So that was going back to Capital Regional Service Commission, to the project committees and stuff like that. I will say I had mentioned to them, I didn't quite understand why we were still going through this process when there was so many members of council and mayors that had gone to their board and it said that our priorities have changed a little bit. But when the money was giving 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it was up to the design phase, so they have to finish out this thing. There's also the possibility another municipality may appeal the decision that was made and possibly want everybody to, like, for them to own it and bring it back. So they don't want to stop this part of it. So after we finally get those costs down to detail, because we were saying we kind of need it to be a little tighter if we're gonna, not we, but if the committee was going to go ahead and ask for funding from provincial and federal government, we've got to have a pretty tight idea of what we're going to spend. So I think we've got another meeting, I believe it's in 2 weeks, so probably at the next council meeting I might be able to give you a little bit more information, but until I'm told that they don't need me, I will be there and provide you with updates.
One comment on that. I don't know how they could even remotely suggest that the budget would only be 47 million for the entire project if they're already 8 million over budget and it's just the design phase. That just doesn't add up to me. And you think of that, another major construction project that's happening in this region is actually coming in at $80 million and doesn't have nearly the amount of specific infrastructure requirements that the pool would. There's no way we come in at that number. Like it's completely blown away by it.
We're also, at our meeting, we're a little concerned that it's low because they're using historical costs from contractors here. If you've done any work yourselves and need contractors and stuff, they're swamped. They're booking like for ages. So we kind of figured that this is low because we're probably going to have to go out of province to get workers. So then you're paying travel costs, you're paying hotels, you're paying meals, all that extra that is on those costs, right? So we'll just have to wait and see what they bring forward or whatever. So hopefully at the next council meeting I'll have more of an update for you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Just one comment. The design phase that we all looked at was supposed to, at a minimum, replace what existed at the Surmax Aiken pool. So by reducing the pool depth, it would look or appear to me that there won't be a dive tank. So that's one of my concerns, that I think that we need to reiterate that then will not be replacing at a minimum the Surmax Aiken pool.
Right.
So I just want that put out there.
That was not part of the 15 items that they had mentioned, and I mentioned it to you guys because then there was the comment afterwards, and I was just like, wouldn't you want to make a pool deeper, not less? But I don't know anything about swimming, so anyway, like I said, I'll try to get as much information as I can out of our next meeting, and I'll actually send you the copy of what the design looks like. The actual diagram itself of the inside, it is so tiny, it's really impossible, but at least you'd be able to see like the outside and stuff. So okay, so on to my treasurer's report. We didn't really do anything for the rights to information and protection of privacy in August too much. A complaint had gone into the ombudsman, so we were investigated on that, but I didn't really track those hours. The Ombuds office actually has started a new program. They're using Hanwell as their beginning case to start a mediation process between us and residents that are frequently sending in requests. So our first meeting was on September the 4th. So on to another matter. As previously discussed, we had brought in an investigator to help us address some staff concerns and issues. So the consultant has met with staff on numerous occasions, should have recommendations for the CAO and the mayor by the end of the month. So the invoice is attached for the period of August to September the 15th that I will need a motion for after we're finished here. And I need to discuss this with you further, but this conversation has to be in closed session, so we just found this out today. Both articles, or both items that are in closed session that we added today are things that have happened this afternoon, so we'll go into closed session and I'll discuss this further with you. So the access road fencing, we had, I believe it was our management meeting, we had talked about maritime fencing, giving us a quote to put in a gate at our access road. They are also the ones that are putting in the fence around the BMX trail, so we thought that instead of paying for the extra travel, it would just be, excuse me, as easy for them to do it. So I've given you two options on that. The $8,500 plus HST, that's for 173 feet of the commercial black chain link fence. So that is going to be a gate at our entrance, and then it's going to follow the mulch area of our playground back to the treed area, because I really think that it's going to be a safety issue if a kid starts running out there and we're doing work and we've got the tractor coming out there. I just think for safety reasons, we really need to gate that off and fence that part of it. So that came in at the $8,500. Option two, we asked them to give us a quote for the 26 feet that includes a gate to go at the opposite end of where that trail ends, because we said we weren't sure if people were walking, if they might walk on there and then get to the end and they're kind of fenced in. But Councillor Heislip and I were talking this afternoon, and I said I really think if that's something that we need later on, we could do it, but for right now, let's see if that is even an issue or whatever. We can always laminate a sign and say this area is fenced at the opposite end or something like that. And
No exit.
I think where it's like woods, if they did walk out, they could probably walk around that gated area if they had to. Right, so I think that we don't need that second, but I wanted to get the quote for you, so.
So just to clarify that, so the two options are basically on each end of that trail, really is what it is.
Option two only, so the first option, option one,
Right.
is just the gate at the entrance and just along the park
Right.
area. Option two is if we want to put in this gate at the very
At
end.
the other end. Yeah, so it's two, so it's two
Yeah,
separate things.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we would only want option one.
Just a question on option one, so that's going alongside the park, is there any existing trees along that?
No, we took them down, so for,
Because there's a lot of old fir and poplar around here that's gonna blow down. So that's not a concern, that it would be beside some trees that are gonna soon blow down.
I will never say never, because look at all the trees that came down over for last
Well,
Christmas.
if there was any trees, then it'd be a good idea to remove them before putting the fence up, because well, you can see what's happening on the fir and poplar.
Right.
Yeah, probably a
But
good
because
idea.
we are right on our property line, so I don't know if we could cut on the other side kind of thing. So if they happen to fall like across the access road onto our fence, I don't think there's probably gonna be anything we can do, because I don't think we have the right to cut it there, because I think we're
We'd
right
have to
out of the
check-
blaze
We'd
line.
have to check with the owner of the adjoining property, so we can remove some dead trees that are gonna fall into that.
Yeah.
So maybe look into that.
Okay, so, for those, I have your two motions, but before we go into that, I just want to go into the Capital Regional Service Commission's budget. So, with this budget, the CAOs met yesterday and went over the budget. I have provided you what our 2024 budget was. So these are solid waste, planning and development, which is the services that we get from the Capital Regional Service Commission. And then all of those mandated services that were brought down from the province and given to the Capital Regional Service Commission. So last year for those services, it was $735,637, and this year it's $692,590. So our portion that we pay is actually a decrease of $43,047. So the solid waste tipping fees, that is going to remain at the $104 per ton. So I wrote down some of the concerns that other municipalities were stating. Each of these funds are funded by the province. So the province gives Capital Regional Service Commission funding that pays for 50% of that project. So like say tourism, then the province gives them 50% of it. So last year being kind of our first years, they weren't sure exactly like what everything was going to cost. So they had some revenue or some surplus that was left over, so those are carried forward. So that has made that decrease, so that's why you kind of see this decrease for us, because we don't have to pay as much. Some of the concerns was this funding is supposed to end in 2027. Capital Regional Service Commission's budget actually is up 16%, but they also have revenues that have offset that. So some of the municipalities felt that they didn't agree with it. They didn't agree that they actually needed additional staffing. That they shouldn't be kind of using this funding because it's going to be ended in 2027, which means that their budget is going to be escalated big time when they don't have that, and then that's going to fall back on us, kind of thing. My opinion is we can't kind of worry about that yet. Like if the government is funding this 50% and there's some surplus left over, then it should be used. It would be the same thing as us with our surplus at the end of the year. We put it into our reserves and stuff like that. So with theirs, it has to be like with each project, like tourism, social development, those things, So our services, we pay got reduced. So I personally think that because our payment is going to be $43,000 less, it is a lot better for our residents, and that we should direct the mayor to approve this budget. So I also provided you with, just now, I provided you with a summary of what that budget is. I noticed in your printed copies that you didn't have a copy of this. Mayor Morrison had forwarded the budget to you separately, I believe, but, so this is kind of their thing.
Councilor McKenzie has a question.
So this is their total budget, not how much necessarily that we pay, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the one that we pay, I provided you in the package. So it looks like this. It would be in,
Treasury report?
should be in the treasurer's report.
That is-
Yeah, read it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't see it.
Yeah, it is, it's at the,
It is?
it's right after the
It's right there,
treasury
yeah.
report, yeah.
Yeah.
So then my question would be, something that came up in the past, it's roughly going to be $100,000 for these, from us, for these mandated services. When are we going to start getting reports from these mandated services
Okay.
to tell us what that 100,000 is getting?
So Councillor Fox had mentioned that to me. I totally forgot that you guys had asked for that. So I contacted John Smith this morning and asked him if I reach out to the Capital Regional Service Commission, because they're under that umbrella, or if I just reach out to Ignite and Tourism themselves. He wrote back and he said that Tourism would like to set up a meeting with me in the next couple of days. Not quite what we wanted, but I will ask them for a detailed report. Next week I also have a meeting with Ignite for a different issue. So if I don't hear back from them this week, then I will certainly reach out to them. But I told John that I felt that we really needed these reports, and starting at the next council meeting, I wanted to have them on every month. So I think it's good to know what they are doing.
There's more than just tourism, though. There's the whole list of all these committees, are all have a budget. So I mean,
Well, most of these, so you guys sit on these, so really you guys should be coming, and when you guys are doing your meetings, you should be coming back with a report to council saying what was discussed at those meetings. So that can be something that you guys bring back.
there's not a lot to bring back. Honest.
Right, so,
As far as in what we're spending our money on, as far as the, I mean, we have presentations and we do, well, you were there at the last one. But as far as money value goes, I mean, it's easy enough to say what was presented, but it's not. As far as the budget goes, it's really,
right. I mean, you certainly don't have to direct the mayor to accept this budget.
No, I'm
If
just
there
curious.
is any amendments that need to be done, they have to be submitted back to the Capital Regional Service Commission before the 24th, because they have to take it to their board on October the 24th. So if you don't want to do anything, maybe in the motion, kind of say what the reasons why you don't want the mayor to vote for this, so that he does have something to take back.
If you look at the notes on the bottom, it explains most of the increases, if not all, and most of the increases are due to additional staff. And also they're looking at relocating from where they are in Prospect Street to around the corner on the Bronze Building there on Regent Street. Gives them if anybody's ever been in the building they've outgrown it. They've got no room for staff they have, and here they are looking at additional staff. But what I brought up at our meeting that we had on the last meeting, when they were talking about hiring staff and whatnot, I said, the government mandated all these services down to, and the Regional Service Commission is doing them on our behalf. Now, if each one of the communities took on all those mandated services on our own, obviously we'd have to hire staff. So they're hiring, there's a couple of planners in there too, which has nothing to do with mandated services, because they're in lack of planning. But they're hiring, 3 or 4 people to do all the mandated services, when I'm sure each and every one of the municipalities would have to hire 1 if not 2 people to look up the mandated services. So, the directors can expect the Regional Service Commission to operate and do all those mandated services without increasing staff. They're kind of living in a glass house or whatever. So I felt that the budget with the explanations where the increases are coming from is more than fair. They just can't do all that work without hiring additional staff. It's impossible. So that's my 2 cents worth on it anyway. Okay, Councillor Fox.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel it as though it works out good for us. I mean, it's a good deal for us, and they're still able to hire, which is good. I'd be surprised if they're able to do all the work that's expected of them, even with these few additional hires, to be honest. So I fully support this budget.
Any other questions for Terry before we move on? Or me, for that matter?
Okay, so then there's 3 motions. Then one is to accept the Peterson investigation and consulting invoice. Then the other one is for maritime fence. If you want just option 1, or if you want both option 1 and 2. And then at the bottom of that page that I provided to you, there's the possible motion for the Capital Regional Service Commission budget. It's here too.
It's on top.
Yeah, it's on the top of it. Yeah. So, any more questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to some motions.
Okay, which one would you like to do first?
First one?
The budget?
Yep.
Oh, you do it.
Okay. I, Councillor Fox, move to authorize and direct the Mayor of Hanwell to vote for the proposed 2025 Capital Region Service Commission budget as proposed for Hanwell services at the October 24th board meeting.
Seconder?
I, Deputy Mayor Jonah, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. The invoice for Peterson investigation, next motion.
I, Deputy Mayor Jonah, move to authorize and direct the CAO to pay the invoice in the amount of $4,795 plus HST to Peterson Investigation and Consulting as submitted, sorry.
I, Councillor Crowe, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Another motion, either 1 or 2, probably 1.
I, Councillor McKenzie, move to accept the quote from Maritime Fence to supply and install 173 feet of commercial black chain link fence, including 1 16-foot swing gate, I think it's supposed to say there, in the amount of $8,500 plus HST.
Seconder?
I don't like my slip. Oh, second.
We got a seconder. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8, or new business. We have item A is the disposal of equipment, lawn tractor. We probably should be a little more specific on which lawn tractor.
I can, so we have currently in possession of 3 lawn tractors. We purchased 2 zero-turns in the last year. The one we want to dispose of is the old lawn tractor that's more a residential one.
So we could call that the residential lawn tractor, then if that into your motion.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, residential lawn tractor.
Just a point of order, we did the motions from the CEO Treasurer's report, but didn't actually accept the report.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Okay.
And thank you to Councillor DeCleva for taking up that.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the treasurer's report, please?
I, Councillor Cleva, move to accept the CAO treasurer's report.
I, Councillor Mackenzie, second.
Any questions, comments? Good catch, Councillor Cleva. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, getting back to the new business disposal of the lawn tractor, we'll get a motion and we can discuss it.
I, Councillor Fox, move to authorize and direct the clerk to sell the residential lawn tractor.
Have a seconder?
Hi, Councillor Curtis, second.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, that lawn tractor's not being used, the two commercial lawn tractors that we have are the Toros,
Yeah.
and they're doing a very sufficient job. And the other one was slow going, it wasn't made for, you know, doing a lot, it's a residential rather than a commercial, so that's why it's just sitting there collecting dust, we may as well move it out.
Storage space too.
We have no space here.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. New business, there's a by-election coming up December 9th, 2024. CAO may want to mention that.
Sure, so the by-election is happening again. So if any of our councillors wish to step down, I have to declare your seat vacant and notify them before October the 25th. So it can be, our next council meeting is within that time frame, so we could put it on the agenda. So not that I'm trying to get rid of anybody, but just in case we can declare it. So this was just more for information for you.
Okay, item C, Ignite Planet Hatch Merge Program. I'll toss that over to our CAO.
Okay, so Ignite is offering a new program. It's called the Merge Program. It is going to start from February the 1st, 2025 to January 31st of 2026. So what it is, municipalities can identify specific, well-defined challenges or issues that we're facing that's directly impacting our economic development. So we will identify these. We put out for request for interest or whatever. They will look at all of the applications that they receive. If they feel that it is something that they can work with in our area, then there is funding available. So I really don't know a whole lot of information on this. The mayor and I have a meeting with them on September the 26th. So once I have this meeting and get more details, I will bring that information back to you. So once again, I didn't feel that we should make any motions or anything until I find out additional information. I really want to know how much time this is going to take as well, how many council members it's going to take for a group to work on. I don't know if it is tons of workshops. And also, like, to me is where this is Ignite and economic development, are they going to kind of be spearheading this, or are we kind of spearheading this? So until I find out more information on it after that meeting, like I said, I will bring this back to you, but I just wanted you to be aware that there is a program that is starting, just in case you happen to hear anybody else talk about it or see it on social media or whatever. So Councilor Fox.
So just a question, so you talk about it being startups, so are these startup businesses that Ignite is working with? Or Planet Hatch is working with that would give work?
It is through Planet Hatch, but like I said, I really don't know if it is existing businesses and they're trying to find information like for the like additional business, or if it's until I have that meeting, I'll bring back everything from that meeting
Thank you.
with
Councillor Leclerc?
Well, I read over the page that you sent that's attached. It seems like it's specific to the municipality itself. Like it's talking about an issue the municipality is facing that is directly impacting economic development and then helping municipalities like kind of solve their issues. So it seems like it would be something we would be trying to do based on a challenge we're currently having, so I don't know.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't know if it's to kind of help our businesses or if it's more just economic development for us as municipality kind. I really don't know, and
We're gonna have to find out more at
Yeah.
that meeting on the 26th.
so
Yeah.
just know that it's coming forward.
Okay, moving on to item D, policing services.
Okay, so policing services and animal control, I'm gonna kind of combine both of these. So on our tax bills, we have the 41 cents for transportation, that extra tax. Then there was always the tax rate that was anywhere between 14 and 17 cents, according to where we were, like with the different entities and stuff. So that tax rate was for policing and animal control. The province, those contracts with the province, they always go to January, so if we would like to take on these services, we have to notify them by the 20th of September. So I reached out to them, especially with the police. I really wanted to see what it all involved. Right now, we really don't have any say in what happens with police services. If we take it over, we're gonna have probably a little bit more say in it. The current contract is a 20-year contract with the police, and so we know what the cost is going to be, which is $1.5 million a year. So that is what that tax rate involved. So I think really the only thing that we may be saving is probably the administration cost, because there would be administration cost in there. So I asked them, I was like, so what does that involve? And she said, literally paying 4 invoices a year. So if we can kind of save money by the administration costs, like to me, staff might as well write out 4 checks a year. We don't have to take this, we can allow the province to do it. To me, the only difference is going to be that I'm going to have another line on our line item on our budget. I really don't see any difference. Now, when it comes 2032, not sure how many of us will still be here in 2032. I don't know if we actually get to sit at a table and talk about the new contract or not, but until 2032, probably don't have to worry. So with when the province does that, part of, there's a grant, and it is $17,000 that goes towards the police cost. So that $17,000 will be transferred to Hanwell, so. Anyway, do you guys have any comments?
I'd like to make a motion so we can have a bit of a discussion on it, because I'd like to make a comment. So I, Councillor McKenzie, move that the rural community of Hanwell assumes responsibility for the budgeting and administration of policing services in Hanwell, now being administered by the Department of Environment and Local Government.
Second?
I will second, Councillor Holt will second that motion.
Okay, any questions, comments? Now we have comment section.
So I see this, I know it doesn't look like it might not change much, but I see this as a potential first step into what we may be able to do in the future. I was very vocal about the fact that in a previous meeting that I believe that we should be doing a feasibility study, especially regionally, of potentially dumping the RCMP and going with a different regional service that's happening elsewhere in the province right now. Because for $1.5 million, quite frankly, I don't think we're getting what we're paying. During our public engagement sessions for the strategic plan, that was always the number one thing that came up on both in the survey, online survey, and in the other. People are very concerned about policing and coverage and safety. And I think that we should be looking at all options potentially available for us in the future to being able to handle that ourselves. And this may be the first step in doing it. Will anything ever change? I don't know. But I think that this would at least be the first step in hopefully getting better policing services for our municipality. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Holt?
Again, Councillor McKenzie more or less covered it. We've already discussed this briefly, and he brought forward the idea of in turn examining other options. And again, I agree wholeheartedly with what he's saying. You know, I do not believe we're getting the $1.2 million or $1.3 million worth of service. And that's all I have to say.
Councillor Bricklow?
Well, I'm just skeptical. I don't think we'd see much change in service. Maybe we would, that would be optimistic, but, and then at the same time, we're taking on responsibility, or it might be perceived that we are now administering police services. Right now, our pat answer is basically it's an RCMP contract with the province, and we really don't have a lot of control over it. But if we do administer it, can we really say that anymore?
There's a perception out there that falls on
Your
us.
perception, and I don't see the service changing a whole lot. I'm all in favor of a feasibility study for another model. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, a feasibility study would be a good idea, but we don't know if it's good bang for the buck or not. How do we know? We don't really declare it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this one.
And we're boxed into this contract until 2032. So, like I said, what I don't know is how the 17-cent rate that was a couple of years ago got reduced to 15 cents. Again, we never have an accounting from the province on how did that rate come down. It's probably because the tax base went up, but they don't tell us if the policing services cost went up or down. So there's still a lot of unknowns in there. Deputy Mayor Jones?
Yeah, well, actually, just what I was about to say is that really, if all we're doing is taking on the administration, then there's really nothing that people can ask us as far as changes, because we do have a contract. We're not changing the contract or getting a new contract, we're just taking over the administration of the other contract. So, I mean, if there are questions from anyone, you know, we are not really changing anything. We're just, you know, the administration is just going from one accounting to another accounting.
Councillor Fox?
So I just want clarification that that's what this is, that it's just an administrative thing, and that we're not negotiating with anybody, we're under this contract until whenever.
2032?
Yeah.
So we're under the contract till 2032. We do have to, if we decide to do this, we do have to put in a bylaw stating that we are doing it and not the province and stuff, but to me at least, like, we don't even have a say in it. Like you had just mentioned, Mayor Morrison, that, you know, it dropped, our tax rate dropped from 17 cents to 15 cents or whatever. Well, what happens if it went the other way? Like, we still wouldn't know, because that is, they tell us what the tax rate is going to be. At least this way, we actually have an amount on our budget and we know exactly what the amount is going to be.
Unless it goes up,
Well,
which it could.
which it could, but we still, at least we know.
You know why, because they have to say why.
Councillor Heisler?
So if the contract is not changing at all, and we're not a signator on the contract, what is their reasoning to do this then? Why
Exactly.
are they doing it? What's the motivation?
My personal opinion, I think the province is getting rid of, they're pushing off every service that they have, like all of those mandated services, policing, animal control.
More are coming
When do we take
That's
on
also-
schools and hospitals?
in hospital and roads.
And roads, yes, we need to discuss that.
So like I said, it is nothing for us to say, no, let's leave it with the province. And you can probably do that for this year, and we can address it again next year, but like they answered the questions that, because I wrote them and I said, could you tell me what we are currently paying for police and how do we determine what to budget? Is this figure going to be provided by the province to us, or are we responsible to determine those costs? And they said the 2024 cost for policing is $1,590,690. A total of $12,816 of Hanwell's community funding grant is allocated to that expense, so the net cost to the taxpayers is $1.577. Whether RC takes over the service or ELG continues to administer the service, the cost would be the same because it's a 20-year contract. If Hanwell decides to take over the service of policing, the community funding grant associated with the budget that department prepares would be transferred to Hanwell as well. Police service costs for each local government is provided each fall by the Department of Public Safety. In the case of rural communities where the department provides the services, the figure is then communicated to ELG instead. So, like, they never tell us. So then I said, could you tell me what is involved with the administration of taking over the services? And you would be receiving quarterly invoices from the Department of Public Safety and have to pay them. So they said the province could still budget for the service and raise property taxes in Hanwell to pay for the services if you decide that you do not want to move forward by doing this.
Councillor McLeod?
Well, I support it because I think that it always feels better to understand why you're paying what you're paying. And I think this is the way I see it, we don't have a say in the contract that's already been negotiated. And it sounds like the variables are based on the population. Like, as if there's a certain rate, like a certain number that we're charged based on population, that's the difference. So if I'm understanding correctly, like, we don't have a say in how much we pay, because if more people move in, we have to pay for those people, right? So that part is out of our hands, and that's not going to change, but at least we would be able to see the number instead of just a random point whatever on this mysterious provincial tax number that everybody has concerns about. So I support being able to see what we're paying and having that broken down more easily.
Councillor Holt?
Quick question in regards to the grant. Did they give, or is there any explanation as to why it looks like the grant actually decreased by about $5,000 between 2023 and 2024? You have it here at $17,737 for the 2023 grant, and the 2024 grant was $12,816.
Yeah, that unconditional grant, that was decreased for everybody. So part of that unconditional grant was decreased to municipalities, and it was allocated to those Capital Regional Service Commission fees, is from what we had gathered in that CAO meeting the other day. So That is kind of what those concerns were by the other municipalities, with saying that that expires in 2027 anyway, because once those funds are used up, which they are expecting to be 2027, so I think probably in the next couple of years, you won't see any grant towards the policing.
One of the things in CAO's report, it says the province does it by tax base, but we can also use population. So the province does it by tax base, they don't look at the population.
Yeah, so they must be looking at like them, people are building houses though, right?
They just
Like
take,
the
they just
taxes
take the amount of the cost
Yeah.
and buy our tax,
Buy
like same as we do to get a rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Fox?
That doesn't allow us to change the amount though, it's gonna always, it's the same.
Yeah, the amount until 2032 is going to be set. All except for, they said probably 2% for cost of
Inflation.
inflation.
It's kind of gray why this is coming forward, and, you know, what's, like I said, what's going on, what's behind it. So it's a lot of, well, I have a lot of questions, I don't know, I don't know.
Sorry, it's not 2%, it's just cost of living, so whatever.
Councillor Holt?
So we are locked into this contract with the RCMP until
2032?
2032.
Regardless of who it
Tech-
is, or is it?
Technically not, there is an out clause for it that municipalities can negotiate. Can't remember if it's 1 year or 2 years, but there is a way to do it. That would be, again, though, it wouldn't be likely from us specifically, it would be,
Agree.
it would be a regional thing that's happening also in province with the same thing, right? They would, negotiations happen, I don't know what the exact contract, but there is an out clause for it. And even there's out clauses for renewals. If you think of like Kodiak Regional RCMP, for example, there was a discussion just last year whether they would renew with them or go back to their own local force. And the vote ended up going to be to stay with Kodiak RCMP. So there's things that can be done, but not having any control over anything, you have basically no say. It's just forced on you.
Okay, go, Councillor Heisler.
So just a quick question, so can we or do we administer or budget for any other provincial service that we have a contract for?
Not that,
The dog.
Well, the dog, animal
SPCA will be
control.
one.
But that will be later, because we're taking that over, that's,
Well, that's coming up next.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
but that's a different one, this is a big big budget
Yeah.
item. So I'm just keep going back to the motivation for doing this, and I'm hesitant at this point.
Like, there's a contract in place to 2032. We could leave it with the province, we could take on the administration ourselves. That's what we have to decide tonight, and we don't have a whole lot of information to really make an informed decision on, my opinion. Councillor Holt?
Secondarily, if we remain in this contract and don't self-administer, if you will, that still does not negate us from being able to do a cost evaluation study, does it?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
so yeah, like if, Council, it's one of those things that if you want to wait, just allow the province to
Dictate what they want to do?
continue. And it would just be a separate tax rate.
Do this, the same on the tax now as be a provincial rate. Okay,
I don't want to withdraw the motion.
pardon?
I don't want to withdraw the motion.
You want us to vote?
I want to call the question.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor, discussion's over, as far as I know, there's no more questions, comments, ready to go? Call for the vote. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, just,
The second.
just hold on a second.
I'm gonna do
Who's
count.
gonna be tied?
Will the
Somebody
ayes
else?
please keep their hand raised? 2, 3, 4.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, you wanna write the name down?
Yeah, I got
There
it.
you go.
Okay, all those against?
Nay.
Nay. 3, 4. Looks like we have a split.
There you go.
We have 4 against and 4 for.
You're up there.
So with the way our bylaw reads, the mayor will cast the deciding vote, and I will vote against the motion.
Okay, all right, contact.
Okay, moving on to the next item is the animal control services.
Okay,
I'll pass this
so,
over to the CAO.
oh, sorry. So the animal control is, once again, the same thing, it was tied into that special tax rate. So with the animal control, there really isn't any difference in this. The SPCA was looking after it for the province. The SPCA would be the ones that look after it for us. I knew of one dog catcher, and unfortunately, they actually work for the SPCA. So a couple of years ago, the municipalities that he did work for, they just signed a contract with the SPCA. So we asked for an amount. It came in at $32,265 for the year, which was $23,000 for Hanwell and $9,200 for the former LSDs. We reached out to them again today because last year in our budget, I was told that it was $26,709, and that was for our entire entity, so our LSDs, so that's like a $6,000 jump. So I have asked them for clarification on that. They said that they didn't think that the LSDs was in that amount, so we're just waiting to hear back. But the most it would be is going to be this $32,000. We also contact them and ask them how many animals they've actually done in the Hanwell area, so that we can have a good idea if they're after 2 or if they're after 200 kind of thing. So this would have to be a bylaw for us, and in the bylaw we have, other municipalities have just said that it's for dogs and cats, so the SPCA aren't out there chasing sheep and goats and donkeys and everything else. So if council wants it just to be for dogs and cats, that's just what we could put in the bylaw. So once again, for this one, it is literally writing out a check to them instead of it being part of that tax rate. So I don't see too much of a difference. There is a thing about registering your dogs and stuff. A lot of municipalities do that. It's part of the Local Governance Act. There is a thing saying that we should have the bylaw that states about rabies, that dogs need to have their rabies shot or whatever. So other municipalities have said that they are not going to be responsible for registering dogs, so they didn't even put it in their bylaw. So do you have anything to add from the information that you received from them, Sherry?
So with the, you kind of touched base on what you received from the SPCA, but the bylaw, I know I've kind of researched a few of them, and I know some municipalities will ask you to register your dog, but there's no fee. So municipalities charge a fee for that. They charge a fee if you lose your tag. There's also some bylaws where they specifically state, it's for dogs and cats. However, you can't have livestock, and the livestock would be like, that's where you can put your rooster stuff in there, only in areas where they're zoned for that. So there's lots of ways you can play with that bylaw. Yeah, that's kind of all I got. I've been working on the bylaw in case we do decide to move forward with it.
Yeah, so if you decide that you do want to move forward with this is another one that I have to notify the province that we're going to take on that service. So we really should do at least the first reading. Oh, do you have that? Okay, we'll do it at the next council meeting.
Let's get a motion on the floor and then we can discuss it. Can I call for a motion, please? Don't have to.
Or not.
You have a
I
question?
just have a question because I'm confused about this. So the previous discussion that we had about policing services, there was an option to stay with the province. It sounds like there is no option to stay with the province here.
It is right in here. It says if council wishes to continue with the province administering animal control, then no motion is required.
Right.
Okay, but it says the issue is animal control being passed on to us.
But if we want to leave it,
Oh, just,
we can leave it
yeah,
with the
so-
province, or we can take it on
Yeah.
ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't need a motion if we don't want to, if we want to leave it with the province.
I really
it's
think
no.
that we should, one way or the other, just so that in 10 years' time, if we're looking back at motions, we can say, yes, we had voted for it, or we were against it, or whatever.
Okay, we can put the motion in, and then we can vote it for it. And if it's defeated, so be it. If it's approved, so be it.
Correct.
So if we defeat the motion, it will, the animal control will remain with the province.
So, just a question, the SPCA still
Yes.
delivers that service?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the only people that deliver it.
Nobody wants to be a dog catcher.
we can't find anybody, but you can't find anybody that will just do it on their own. Like anybody that used to do it on their own works for the SPCA at this point, so.
If we're going to further discussion, we need a motion on the floor. Can I have a motion, please?
I don't
With
care.
no motion, we'll consider the subject mute. Okay. Oh, proclamations, we have none that I'm aware of. Upcoming activities, we have some. No? Just standard upcoming activities, I guess. Can I get a motion to move into closed session, please?
I, Councillor Holt, move to go into closed session.
Seconder?
Aye, Councilor McKenzie, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. We are now in closed session. I'm going to come out of closed session.
I, Councillor Holt, move to come out of closed session.
Seconder?
Councilor Cruz, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. I need a motion from Councillor DeCleva.
I, Councillor DeCleva, move to authorize Capital Region Service Commission to proceed with legal action on PID number 753-19624 for operation of a non-authorized auto repair business as per the Hanwell Rural Plan.
Questions? Oh, seconder?
Aye, Councilor McKenzie, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Next meeting will be at the council chambers here as
October
usual.
16th.
And September the 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion?
No.
to adjourn?
October
Six-
16th.
October 16th.
At
Why do
6:30.
people write this and I read it?
6:30,
October the 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
right?
6:30.
6:30.
At 6:30 p.m. All right, since we have that little bit of homework done, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned at 8:40.